And joining us for more on tonight's topic is Jan Thornburg, Public Information Officer with the City of Sarasota, Emily Ledger, Marketing Manager for John Frank Swift Corporation, and Chris Gallagher of Hoyt Construction and the past Chair of the Board of Directors for the Sarasota Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank you all for joining us today. And boy, the obvious question after hearing those business owners is, when the city saw that the delays were going to take it into the heart of the season, why not just delay this project? Because obviously it is really impacting local businesses. I'll start with you.
Yeah. You know, Alan, we're very fortunate. Sarasota has been discovered, and we are blessed that we have natural beauty here. We also have a community that embraces the cultural arts. We have a very vibrant downtown, and people want to be here now. And that's what we're seeing. People want to be here, and we have people who are investing in downtown. So we do have construction that's going on. Right now, there are about two and a half dozen construction projects that are actually underway in the core of downtown, Rosemary District, Burns Court, that are either under construction or in the pipeline. Of all of those two and a half dozen, just one is a City of Sarasota project that was initiated by the city, right, and that will be wrapping up next week. All the rest of those are private development construction projects. So there is a tremendous interest in Sarasota.
Right, and we don't want to say that this is because of Sarasota city government. There are, as you said, private construction projects and also state projects. But, geez, when you hear some of those people from Best Package saying that we're down 20% for dinners and 40% for lunch, you know, this is a story that was actually brought to us by downtown business owners, which are screaming, ouch. And, you know, Emily, if you could talk about why these projects need to happen at this time of year.
Well, I can't really speak to why they happen at this time of year. That really is, dictated by the City of Sarasota. One reason I know that they've talked about in the past is weather. In the heart of summer, it's raining almost every day, which would delay the project even further. So one thing I did want to mention about this is yes, the businesses are affected. They're going to be affected. But working with the city, working with our architect, we're able to come together and help to try to mitigate those circumstances for them. And we know it's going to happen. So we started to think creatively. What can we do? Can we offer them advertising? Can we compensate them for their valet? We're in communication with these businesses on a weekly, almost daily basis to try to keep them abreast of what's going on. I mean, that's a part of what John Swift does.
One of the keys to this is communication. We keep open lines of communications with the business owners as well as residents with any project that's initiated by the City of Sarasota. In this case, we were coordinating with some other projects that we were aware of that would be going on downtown. So if people are going to be inconvenienced, we don't want it to happen multiple times. So we want to coordinate our utility work with perhaps a private development. So when we realized that First Street would go into season, past into season, our project manager actually talked with the business owners and gave them an option and actually took their temperature. Would you like to start now and dip into season, or we could postpone this and we could start it in the summer of 2016? We overwhelmingly were told at the time that they wanted to just get it done now. They knew that it would be a rough patch, but then they would look forward to it being finished.
But there are some businesses that came to us to basically say, why is this happening right now? And many of these businesses, whether it's restaurants or other kinds of companies, you know, their margins are such that if they lose a season or a good chunk of it, that could really put them under. And Chris, I'm wondering if there's any way that the Chamber can put into numbers how this really has impacted downtown businesses.
I don't think we have numbers. We certainly do hear it, and you know, you hear, like, anytime you get a large group of people together, there are those that are, you know, that are feeling the pinch. There are those that are, you know, looking out several years and saying, you know, this has to happen. We've got to make these improvements in the city. And I guess the other thing I'd say is I sympathize with the city, you know, doing these roadway projects. For anyone that's ever done a renovation project, we do a lot of new projects. We do a lot of renovation projects. The new projects are pretty easy to predict and schedule. When you're doing a renovation, which every kind of a street project is, once you start ripping behind the walls, and in this case the pavement, the surprises show up. And so as much as you try and build a schedule, you try and figure in for those things, there's just going to become a surprise, and I'm quite sure that this happened on First Street. I mean, and I know there was some things at the roundabout that happened. It's part of what goes with the territory of dealing with the streets.
What percentage of your members depend upon, for their livelihood, the in-season business?
Well, our membership is a pretty broad membership. We're the Greater Sarasota Chamber of Commerce, so we're reaching all over the place. The problems we're talking about are, we talked about, out at 75. We talked about in the city. So it is those that are, again, I completely sympathize with people that have retail and restaurant that are depending on that kind of business. But for people that are, lawyers and other professionals, it's not quite so big an impact. People don't have to get there every day to eat or shop and things. So, as I say, it is a mixed bag, and again, we always recognize going to be some pain associated. We just, a couple of years ago, we did all 301 over, but in the long view, you've got to make the improvements.
Right, but it just seems there's a lot more pain this season than in some other years. And I know, again, the construction taking place on 75 is not a city project. It's a state project, but still, there's such an influx in terms of snowbirds and other people coming down for spring training. I could testify myself that 75 is incredibly congested, and to have that construction now near University is really, really difficult this time of year. And I don't, you're not in a position to speak for the state, except what do you know about the reasoning of having so much of that construction right now?
With the state, with I-75, I really wouldn't be able to address that, Alan. But what I can say is that from the city standpoint, we do the best that we can to coordinate projects. When we have a city project, if it's a utility project, a road improvement project, we look at other private developments that will be going on to coordinate to ensure that if a road is being worked on, that it'll only be worked on once. If we're going to be going into the right-of-way, people will only be convenienced, hopefully, the one time. A good example is Hotel Sarasota, that construction is now underway. Part of the reason why the postponement for First Street improvements was to coordinate some of the utility work with Hotel Sarasota. So there is coordination that goes on. A lot of it is just behind the scenes.
And we have less than a minute, but I wanted to ask Emily one more question, and that is, and I'm sure many people ask that in terms of the time of day of the construction. When it interferes with morning rush hour or afternoon rush hour, what does do construction companies take into consideration in terms of the time of day?
Well, I can't speak for other construction companies, but I can speak for John Swift. And a great example here on First Street was the Roast restaurant came to us and said, lunch is one of our busiest times. Can you help us to try to get people down here by not doing certain work, not cutting, not making loud noise, maybe not causing a lot of dust? So what did we do? We moved to the opposite end of the street. We started to work down there. With those adjustments caused delays.
And we'll have to leave it there, and I appreciate you all coming in today. And